Madison Rodriguez had always been told she was too small, too weak, and too female for the military. Growing up in rural Texas, she watched her three older brothers excel in sports while she was relegated to the sidelines, holding water bottles and cheering from the stands. Her father, a former Marine sergeant, would ruffle her hair and tell her to focus on her studies instead of dreaming about following in his footsteps. But Madison had fire in her belly that no amount of dismissal could extinguish. At 18, she surprised everyone by enlisting in the Navy immediately after high school graduation. Her family thought it was a phase, something she'd grow out of after a few months of basic training. They were wrong. Madison thrived in the structured environment, pushing herself harder than anyone expected. She excelled in physical training, scored perfectly on written exams, and demonstrated leadership qualities that impressed her instructors. But it was during a guest lecture about special operations that Madison found her true calling. The Navy SEAL instructor, Chief Petty Officer Jackson Wright, spoke about the elite nature of his unit with obvious pride. He described the grueling selection process, the mental toughness required, and the brotherhood that formed among those who made it through. When he opened the floor for questions, Madison raised her hand. She asked about the physical requirements, the training timeline, and the success rates. Chief Wright answered professionally, but she noticed the slight smirk on his face when he looked at her. After the presentation, Madison approached the chief privately. She expressed her genuine interest in attempting SEAL qualification, known as Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, or BUD-S. Chief Wright's reaction was immediate and dismissive. He chuckled and shook his head, telling her that while he admired her enthusiasm, she should be realistic about her limitations. He suggested she consider other Navy specialties that might be more suitable for someone of her stature and gender. Madison stood all of 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed barely 130 pounds. She had no impressive athletic background, no family connections in special operations, and no obvious advantages that would suggest she could survive the most demanding military training program in the world. Chief Wright had seen thousands of candidates come and go, most of them failing within the first few weeks despite being bigger, stronger, and more experienced than the young woman standing before him. But Madison had something that couldn't be measured in a gym or evaluated in a physical fitness test. She had an unshakable determination that bordered on obsession. That night, she began preparing for a journey that would test every fiber of her being. She researched training techniques, studied nutrition protocols, and developed a workout regimen that would push her beyond what she thought was possible. Madison knew she would face skepticism, ridicule, and institutional resistance, but she had made up her mind. The path to SEAL qualification would be longer and more difficult than she could imagine, But Madison Rodriguez was ready to prove that heart and determination could overcome any perceived limitation. She would show them all what she was truly capable of achieving. Madison spent the next 2 years preparing for what many considered an impossible goal. She threw herself into an intensive training regimen that consumed every spare moment of her Navy service. While her shipmates relaxed during liberty, Madison was in the gym, pushing her body to its absolute limits. She studied every available resource about SEAL training, memorizing procedures, learning about the psychological challenges, and preparing for the mental warfare that would inevitably come. Her preparation wasn't just physical. Madison sought out mentors who could provide insight into the special operations mindset. She found an unlikely ally in Master Chief Patricia Hernandez, a Navy diver who had broken barriers in her own career. Master Chief Hernandez had faced similar skepticism and understood the unique challenges Madison would encounter. She provided guidance not just on training techniques, but on the mental fortitude required to persist when everyone around you expects you to fail. The announcement that women would be allowed to attempt SEAL training came during Madison's second year of preparation. The news created a media frenzy and sparked debates across military forums and social media platforms. Many current and former SEALs expressed doubt that any woman could meet the physical and mental demands of the program. Comments ranged from professional skepticism to outright hostility, with some suggesting that allowing women would lower standards and compromise unit effectiveness. Madison ignored the noise and focused on her goals. She had transformed her body through relentless training, building functional strength and endurance that would serve her in the challenging months ahead. She could swim for hours, run marathons, and lift weights that impressed even her male colleagues. But she knew that physical preparation was only part of the equation. The mental game would be equally important, if not more so. When Madison finally submitted her application for SEAL training, it created ripples throughout her command. Her commanding officer, Captain Michael Thompson, called her into his office for a private conversation. He wasn't dismissive like Chief Wright had been, but he was concerned about the scrutiny she would face. He warned her that she would be under a microscope, that every mistake would be magnified, and that the pressure would be unlike anything she had experienced. Captain Thompson also shared something that surprised Madison. He told her that he had been following her progress over the past 2 years and was impressed by her dedication and improvement. He had received reports from the fitness center staff about her work ethic and had noticed her consistently high performance ratings. While he couldn't guarantee her success, he respected her determination and promised to support her application. The formal approval process took several months, during which Madison continued her intense preparation. She refined her swimming technique, improved her running times, and worked on the mental strategies she would need to survive the psychological pressure of SEAL training. She also began preparing for the social challenges she would face as the first woman in a traditionally male environment. Madison understood that she wasn't just representing herself. She was representing all women who dreamed of serving in special operations roles. The weight of that responsibility was both inspiring and terrifying. She knew that her performance would be scrutinized, and that her success or failure would influence future opportunities for other women. As her departure date approached, Madison felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness that she had never experienced before. She was about to embark on a journey that would test every aspect of her character and capability. The first day of basic underwater demolition SEAL training arrived with the California sun beating down on the Naval Special Warfare Command in Coronado. Madison stood among 47 other candidates, the only woman in a sea of determined men. She had expected the stares and whispers, but the reality was more intense than she had imagined. Some candidates looked at her with curiosity, others with skepticism, and a few with barely concealed disdain. Chief Wright, who had dismissed her dreams 2 years earlier, was now one of her instructors. He stood before the assembled candidates with the same authoritative presence she remembered, but his expression was unreadable when his eyes met hers. Madison wondered if he remembered their conversation, or if she was just another face in the crowd of hopefuls who would likely quit before the first week ended. The initial briefing was delivered by Commander Davis, a veteran SEAL with over 20 years of experience. He outlined the program's structure, the physical requirements, and the mental challenges they would face. He emphasized that Bud-S was designed to break people down and rebuild them as warriors. The statistics were sobering. Only about 20% of candidates would successfully complete the program and earn their SEAL Trident. Commander Davis paused as he scanned the group of candidates. His eyes lingered on Madison for a moment before he continued. He reminded everyone that the standards were the same for all candidates, regardless of background or demographics. There would be no special treatment, no modified requirements, and no excuses for failure. The only thing that mattered was performance and the ability to meet the rigorous demands of the program. The first physical screening test began immediately after the briefing. Candidates had to complete a series of timed exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, a 4-mile run, and a 500-yard swim. Madison had practiced these exercises thousands of times, but performing them under the watchful eyes of instructors and fellow candidates added a new level of pressure. She performed each exercise with precision and determination, matching or exceeding the times of many male candidates. Her swimming, in particular, impressed the instructors. Years of focused training had made her incredibly efficient in the water, and she completed the swim with energy to spare. Several candidates who had looked at her dismissively earlier were now paying closer attention. The physical screening was just the beginning. The instructors immediately launched into what they called surf torture, a technique designed to test mental resilience. Candidates were ordered to sit in the frigid Pacific Ocean surf, arms locked together, while waves crashed over them. The cold was shocking, penetrating to the bone within minutes. Madison felt her body temperature dropping rapidly, but she forced herself to maintain composure. Chief Wright walked among the candidates, studying their reactions to the cold and discomfort. He stopped in front of Madison, observing her technique for staying warm and her mental approach to the suffering. She met his gaze directly, showing no sign of weakness or doubt. After what felt like an eternity, he moved on to the next candidate. The first day ended with a run along the beach, the entire class moving together in formation. Madison kept pace with the group, her breathing controlled and her stride steady. She could hear some candidates already talking about quitting, overwhelmed by the intensity of just the first day. But Madison felt energized by the challenge. This was exactly what she had trained for, and she was ready for whatever came next. As the sun set over the Pacific, Madison realized that her real test was just beginning. The instructors had been evaluating not just physical capabilities, but mental toughness and character. She had survived the first day, but she knew that the weeks ahead would push her far beyond anything she had experienced before. Week 2 of Bud S brought the infamous Hell Week, a 5-day period of continuous training with minimal sleep and maximum stress. Madison had read about Hell Week in every book and article she could find, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of the experience. The instructors pushed candidates to their absolute breaking point, using psychological pressure, physical exhaustion, and sleep deprivation as tools to separate those who truly belonged from those who were merely curious. The week began on Sunday evening with what the instructors called breakout. Candidates were awakened by the sound of machine gun fire, explosions, and sirens. Instructors wearing ghoulish masks appeared in the barracks, shouting orders and creating chaos. Madison's heart raced as she stumbled out of bed, grabbing her gear and falling into formation with the other candidates. The psychological warfare had begun. For the next 5 days, Madison would average fewer than 4 hours of sleep total. The training was relentless. Ocean swims in frigid water, endless runs on soft sand, boat races carrying heavy inflatable boats, and calisthenics that seemed to go on forever. Candidates were constantly wet, cold, and exhausted. The instructors rotated in shifts, staying fresh while the candidates deteriorated physically and mentally. Madison discovered that her smaller size actually provided some advantages. She could wedge herself into positions during boat races that larger candidates couldn't manage, and her efficient swimming technique allowed her to conserve energy in the water. However, She also faced challenges that her male counterparts didn't encounter. Carrying the heavy boats was more difficult for her, and she had to work harder to keep up during some of the strength-based exercises. The psychological pressure was intense and personal. Instructors would single out candidates who showed signs of weakness, targeting them with additional attention and criticism. Madison found herself under constant scrutiny, with instructors questioning her commitment, her capabilities, and her reasons for being there. They would ask her if she was tired, if she wanted to quit, if she was sure she belonged in such a demanding program. Chief Wright seemed to take particular interest in Madison's progress. He would appear beside her during the most challenging moments, offering what sounded like helpful advice, but was actually psychological manipulation. He would tell her that there was no shame in quitting, that she had already proven herself by making it this far, and that she could try again later when she was better prepared. Madison learned to recognize these tactics for what they were, attempts to break her mental resolve. She developed internal strategies for maintaining focus and motivation. She would repeat mantras, visualize her goals, and remember all the people who had doubted her capabilities. Every time an instructor suggested she quit, she became more determined to prove them wrong. The boat races were particularly brutal. Teams of 6 candidates had to carry heavy inflatable boats over their heads while running on the beach. Madison's team struggled initially because of her size, but she quickly adapted by positioning herself strategically and using her core strength to maximum advantage. She also became the team's motivator, encouraging her teammates when they showed signs of giving up. By Wednesday of Hell Week, the attrition rate was significant. Candidates who had seemed strong and confident during the first week were now walking up to the instructors and requesting to be removed from the program. Each departure was marked by the ringing of a brass bell, a sound that echoed across the training compound and reminded everyone of the consequences of giving up. Madison watched strong, experienced candidates quit the program, some of them men who had initially been dismissive of her presence. She felt a mixture of sadness for their departure and satisfaction that she was still standing. Her body was exhausted, her muscles ached constantly, and she was running on pure determination, but she was still there. The instructors began to notice something different about Madison. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving under pressure. Her performance remained consistent even as fatigue accumulated, and she continued to encourage her teammates when they were struggling. Some instructors began to view her with grudging respect, though they were careful not to show it publicly. Thursday night of Hell Week brought the Steel Pier exercise, one of the most dreaded challenges in SEAL training. Candidates were required to lie on a steel pier while instructors sprayed them with cold water from fire hoses. The combination of metal, water, and wind created a bone-chilling experience that broke many otherwise strong candidates. Madison lay on the pier, shivering uncontrollably, while instructors walked among the candidates asking if anyone wanted to quit. The cold was beyond anything Madison had experienced. Her body temperature dropped rapidly, and she began to lose feeling in her extremities. She could hear her teammates groaning and cursing as they struggled to endure the torture. Several candidates got up and walked away, unable to continue. Madison forced herself to stay focused on her breathing and her mental techniques, but she felt her resolve being tested in ways she hadn't anticipated. Chief Wright approached Madison during the exercise, crouching down beside her on the pier. He spoke quietly, his voice almost sympathetic. He told her that she had already accomplished more than anyone expected, that she had proven her point, and that there would be other opportunities in the future. He painted a picture of a warm, dry room where she could rest and recover from the ordeal. Madison looked directly at Chief Wright, her lips blue from cold but her eyes blazing with determination. She told him in a steady voice that she wasn't going anywhere, that she would complete the program no matter what it took. Chief Wright studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slightly and moved on to the next candidate. Madison sensed that something had shifted in his perception of her capabilities. The final day of Hell Week brought a mixture of relief and apprehension. Candidates who had survived the 5-day ordeal were exhausted but also proud of their accomplishment. Madison looked around at her remaining classmates, noting that the group had shrunk significantly. Of the original 48 candidates, only 23 remained. She was the only woman still standing. The instructors gathered the surviving candidates for a brief ceremony recognizing their completion of Hell Week. Commander Davis addressed the group, acknowledging their achievement and reminding them that this was just the beginning of their training. He emphasized that Hell Week was designed to identify candidates who possessed the mental toughness and determination required for special operations. Madison felt a surge of pride and accomplishment, but she also knew that the most challenging parts of training lay ahead. Hell Week had been about mental resilience and basic physical conditioning. The subsequent phases would test technical skills, advanced physical capabilities, and the ability to operate effectively in complex environments. As the candidates were dismissed for their first full night of sleep in nearly a week, Madison reflected on what she had learned about herself. She had discovered reserves of strength and determination that she didn't know existed. She had also learned that the respect of her instructors and peers had to be earned through consistent performance and unwavering commitment. Chief Wright approached Madison as she was leaving the training area. For the first time since she had arrived at Bud S., he spoke to her with genuine respect. He told her that her performance during Hell Week had been impressive and that she had earned the right to continue in the program. He also warned her that the challenges ahead would be different but equally demanding. Madison thanked Chief Wright for his acknowledgement, but made it clear that she wasn't looking for special recognition. She wanted to be judged by the same standards as every other candidate and to succeed or fail based on her own merit. Chief Wright nodded approvingly, recognizing that she understood the culture and expectations of the SEAL community. That night, Madison slept more soundly than she had in months, knowing that she had overcome one of the most significant hurdles in her journey to becoming a Navy SEAL. Phase 2 of Bud-S focused on diving and underwater operations, skills that would be essential for SEAL missions. Madison had always been comfortable in the water, but the training pushed her abilities to new levels. The instructors introduced complex diving techniques, underwater navigation, and emergency procedures that required both technical precision and mental composure under extreme stress. The diving training began with pool exercises designed to test candidates' comfort level underwater. Madison excelled in these initial sessions. Her natural swimming ability and efficient technique making her one of the strongest performers in the class. She could hold her breath longer than most candidates and demonstrated excellent buoyancy control. The instructors noted her progress and began giving her more challenging assignments. One of the most demanding exercises was called drown-proofing, where candidates had their hands and feet bound and were required to survive in the water for extended periods. The exercise was designed to build confidence and teach candidates to remain calm in life-threatening situations. Madison approached the exercise with the same mental preparation she had used throughout training, focusing on breath control and efficient movement. During the drown-proofing exercise, Madison demonstrated remarkable composure. While some candidates panicked and had to be rescued by safety divers, she remained calm and methodical. She used her core strength to maintain position and her mental training to control her breathing. The instructors were impressed by her performance and began to recognize that her success in the program wasn't just about determination. She possessed genuine skill and ability. The underwater navigation exercises presented new challenges. Candidates had to swim long distances underwater using only a compass and their ability to count kick cycles. The exercises were conducted in murky water with limited visibility, requiring candidates to trust their instruments and their training. Madison's attention to detail and methodical approach served her well in these technical challenges. Chief Wright began to change his approach to Madison during Phase 2. Instead of trying to break her down psychologically, he started pushing her to excel. He would give her additional responsibilities during team exercises and challenge her to meet higher standards. Madison recognized this shift and responded by elevating her performance even further. The diving phase also included combat swimmer training, where candidates learned to approach targets from underwater. These exercises combined technical diving skills with tactical awareness and stealth. Madison's smaller size actually became an advantage in these scenarios, as she could move more quietly and efficiently through the water than larger candidates. During one particularly challenging exercise, Madison's team was tasked with conducting a simulated attack on a ship. The exercise required them to swim several miles underwater, approach the target undetected, and complete their mission without being discovered. Madison was selected as the team leader, a responsibility that reflected the instructor's growing confidence in her abilities. The mission was successful, with Madison's team completing all objectives within the time limit. Her leadership during the exercise impressed both instructors and fellow candidates. She had demonstrated not just technical competence, but also the ability to make decisions under pressure and lead others in challenging situations. As Phase 2 neared its end, Madison had established herself as one of the top performers in the class. Her scores on written examinations were consistently high. Her physical performance continued to improve, and she had earned the respect of her classmates. The skepticism and dismissive attitudes from the early days of training had been replaced by genuine admiration for her capabilities. The instructors began to discuss Madison's progress in their private evaluations. They noted that she had not only survived the most challenging aspects of training, but had excelled in many areas. Her mental toughness, technical skills, and leadership potential were all rated highly. Chief Wright, who had initially doubted her ability to complete the program, was now one of her strongest advocates. Madison was aware of the shift in attitudes around her, but she remained focused on her goals. She knew that the final phase of training would present new challenges and that she couldn't afford to become complacent. She had proven herself capable of surviving and thriving in the most demanding training program in the military. But she still had work to do before she could call herself a Navy SEAL. The final phase of Bud-S focused on land warfare and small unit tactics, skills that would be essential for SEAL operations on land. Madison had excelled in the water-based training, but this phase would test different aspects of her capabilities. The training included weapons handling, explosive ordnance, small unit tactics, and advanced physical conditioning that combined all the skills learned in previous phases. The weapons training began with basic marksmanship, progressing to advanced techniques used in special operations. Madison had limited experience with firearms before joining the Navy, but she approached the training with the same methodical preparation she had used throughout the program. She studied the technical aspects of each weapon system, practiced her shooting stance and breathing techniques, and sought additional coaching from instructors. Madison's shooting scores improved rapidly as she mastered the fundamentals. Her natural attention to detail and ability to remain calm under pressure translated well to marksmanship. She became proficient with pistols, rifles, and automatic weapons, consistently scoring in the top tier of candidates. The instructors noted her progress and began including her in advanced shooting exercises. The explosive ordnance training introduced candidates to the demolition skills they would need for SEAL missions. Madison learned to handle plastic explosives, detonators, and timing devices with precision and safety. The training required both technical knowledge and steady nerves, as mistakes could have serious consequences. Madison's careful, methodical approach made her one of the most trusted candidates in explosive handling exercises. During one complex demolition exercise, Madison was tasked with leading a team to destroy a simulated enemy installation. The exercise required careful planning, precise execution, and coordination among team members. Madison developed a detailed plan, briefed her team thoroughly, and executed the mission flawlessly. The instructors praised her leadership and technical competence. The small unit tactics training focused on the skills needed for SEAL operations in hostile environments. Candidates learned advanced patrolling techniques, close quarters combat, and mission planning. Madison's performance in these exercises was consistently strong, demonstrating both individual skills and the ability to work effectively as part of a team. Chief Wright continued to challenge Madison with increasingly difficult assignments. He would place her in leadership positions during complex exercises and evaluate her decision-making under pressure. Madison responded to these challenges by continually improving her performance and taking on additional responsibilities. The physical conditioning during the final phase was the most demanding of the entire program. Candidates were required to complete long-distance runs while carrying heavy equipment, swim extended distances in full gear, and complete obstacle courses that tested every aspect of their fitness. Madison's years of preparation and the conditioning she had gained throughout training served her well in these final challenges. During the final evaluation exercise, each candidate was required to complete a comprehensive test of all skills learned during BUD-S. The exercise included swimming, diving, weapons handling, demolitions, and small unit tactics. Madison approached the evaluation with confidence, knowing that she had mastered each component through months of intensive training. Her performance during the final evaluation was exceptional. She completed the swimming portion faster than most candidates, demonstrated perfect technique in diving exercises, scored expert level in weapons handling, and showed advanced competence in demolitions and tactics. The instructors were impressed by her overall performance and her ability to maintain high standards across all areas. As the final phase concluded, Madison realized that she had achieved something remarkable. She had not only survived the most challenging military training program in the world, but had excelled in ways that surprised even her strongest supporters. The young woman who had been dismissed as too small and too weak had proven herself capable of meeting the highest standards of military excellence. Chief Wright approached Madison during the final week of training for a private conversation. He admitted that he had been wrong about her capabilities and that her performance throughout the program had been outstanding. He told her that she had earned the respect of every instructor and that she would be a valuable addition to the SEAL community. Madison thanked Chief Wright for his honesty and for the challenging training he had provided. She told him that the skepticism and high standards had motivated her to perform at her best, and that she was grateful for the opportunity to prove herself. She also expressed her hope that her success would open doors for other women who shared her dreams of serving in special operations. Graduation day from Bud S arrived with a mixture of pride, relief, and anticipation. Madison stood among the 18 candidates who had successfully completed the program, the only woman in a group that had started with 48 hopefuls. The ceremony was attended by family members, military officials, and media representatives who had come to witness what many considered a historic moment. Madison's family had flown in from Texas for the ceremony, their faces showing a mixture of pride and amazement. Her father, the former Marine who had once encouraged her to focus on her studies instead of military dreams, stood with tears in his eyes as he watched his daughter receive her certificate of completion. Her brothers, who had once overshadowed her in athletics, now looked at her with newfound respect and admiration. The ceremony began with remarks from Admiral Richardson, the commander of Naval Special Warfare Command. He spoke about the significance of the day and the exceptional achievement represented by the graduating class. He specifically acknowledged Madison's historic accomplishment as the first woman to complete SEAL training, while emphasizing that her success was based on merit and performance rather than gender. Admiral Richardson presented each graduate with their Bud S completion certificate, a document that represented months of the most demanding training in the military. When Madison's name was called, she stepped forward with the same confidence and composure she had shown throughout training. The applause from the audience was thunderous, recognizing both her individual achievement and the broader significance of her success. Chief Wright was among the instructors who participated in the ceremony. When he congratulated Madison, he spoke quietly about her remarkable journey and the respect she had earned from everyone in the program. He told her that she had not only met the standards expected of SEAL candidates, but had exceeded them in many areas. His words carried special weight because of their history and his initial skepticism. The media attention following the ceremony was intense. Madison was interviewed by national news outlets, military publications, and social media influencers. She handled the attention with grace and professionalism, emphasizing that her success was the result of preparation, determination, and the support of outstanding instructors and teammates. In her interviews, Madison was careful to keep the focus on the broader implications of her achievement. She spoke about the importance of judging individuals based on their capabilities rather than their demographics. She expressed hope that her success would inspire other women to pursue their dreams in military service and other challenging fields. Madison also acknowledged the teammates who had supported her throughout training. She spoke about the bonds formed during the most challenging moments and the mutual respect that had developed among the candidates. She emphasized that her success was not just an individual achievement, but a reflection of the teamwork and mutual support that characterized the SEAL community. The graduation ceremony concluded with the traditional hooyah cheer, a sound that echoed across the training compound and represented the warrior spirit that Madison had embraced throughout her journey. As she stood with her fellow graduates, Madison felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond personal achievement. She had proven that determination and character could overcome any perceived limitation. Following the ceremony, Madison was assigned to SEAL Team 7, based in Coronado. She would undergo additional specialized training before being deployed on operational missions. The assignment represented the beginning of her career as a Navy SEAL, but it also marked the continuation of her journey to prove herself in the special operations community. As Madison prepared for the next phase of her military career, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From the dismissive conversation with Chief Wright years earlier to her successful completion of the most demanding training program in the military, she had overcome skepticism, physical challenges, and psychological pressure to achieve her dreams. Madison knew that her success would be scrutinized, and that she would continue to face challenges as she began her operational career. However, she also knew that she had proven herself capable of meeting the highest standards of military excellence, and that she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. 6 months after graduation from Bud S., Madison was deployed to the Middle East with SEAL Team 7 for her first operational mission. The assignment was a complex counterterrorism operation that would test all the skills she had learned during training. Madison approached the deployment with the same methodical preparation that had served her throughout her career, studying intelligence reports, rehearsing mission procedures, and building relationships with her new teammates. The team was initially skeptical about having a woman in their ranks, despite Madison's successful completion of training. SEAL teams were tight-knit units where trust and confidence were essential, and Madison knew she would have to prove herself all over again in an operational environment. She understood that her teammates needed to see her perform under real combat conditions before they would fully accept her as an equal member of the team. Madison's first mission was a nighttime raid on a suspected terrorist compound. The operation required advanced skills in close-quarters combat, explosives handling, and small unit tactics. Madison was assigned a support role initially, but her performance during the mission exceeded expectations. She demonstrated perfect technique in her assigned tasks and showed the composure and decision-making ability that characterized experienced operators. The mission was successful, with the team capturing high-value targets and gathering important intelligence. Madison's contribution was significant, and her teammates began to recognize that her capabilities were genuine. The team leader, Lieutenant Commander Stevens, noted Madison's performance in his after-action report and recommended her for increased responsibilities in future operations. Over the following months, Madison participated in a series of increasingly complex missions. She proved herself capable in various operational environments, from urban combat to maritime operations. Her technical skills, physical conditioning, and mental toughness were consistently strong, and she began to earn the trust and respect of her teammates. Madison's reputation within the special operations community began to grow. Other SEAL teams heard about her performance and began to request her for specialized missions. She was recognized as an expert in underwater operations and was often called upon for missions that required advanced diving skills. Her success in operational environments validated her training achievements and demonstrated that she belonged in the SEAL community. The media attention surrounding Madison's career continued, but she learned to manage it while maintaining her focus on operational responsibilities. She gave occasional interviews about her experiences and the importance of diversity in special operations, but she was careful to keep the emphasis on professional competence rather than gender issues. Madison's success had broader implications for the military and society. Other women began applying for SEAL training, inspired by her example. The military began to reconsider policies and procedures that had previously excluded women from certain roles. Madison's achievement became a catalyst for broader discussions about gender equality and opportunity in military service. Chief Wright, who had initially doubted Madison's capabilities, became one of her strongest advocates. He frequently spoke about her achievements to new classes of SEAL candidates, using her example to illustrate the importance of determination and character over physical attributes. He admitted that his initial skepticism had been based on preconceptions rather than objective evaluation. Madison's career continued to advance as she took on leadership roles within the SEAL community. She was promoted to petty officer and began mentoring newer team members, sharing the lessons she had learned throughout her journey. Her leadership style emphasized preparation, teamwork, and maintaining high standards regardless of circumstances. The impact of Madison's success extended beyond her individual career. Military leaders began to recognize that excluding capable individuals based on gender was counterproductive, and that the services needed to focus on merit and capability rather than traditional assumptions. Madison's example provided concrete evidence that women could succeed in the most demanding military roles. As Madison reflected on her journey from skeptical recruit to respected SEAL operator, she felt proud of what she had accomplished, but also aware of the responsibility that came with her success. She had proven that determination and character could overcome any obstacle, but she also knew that her achievements had opened doors for others, and that she had a responsibility to continue setting a positive example. Madison's story became a source of inspiration for people facing their own challenges and doubts. Her journey from dismissed recruit to elite warrior demonstrated that success was possible for anyone willing to put in the necessary work and maintain unwavering determination in the face of skepticism and adversity. 2 years into her operational career, Madison faced her most challenging mission yet. Intelligence had identified a high-value terrorist target operating from a heavily defended compound in a remote mountainous region. The mission required a small team to infiltrate the area, conduct surveillance, and if possible, capture or eliminate the target. Madison was selected as the team's lead scout, responsible for advance reconnaissance and mission planning. The assignment was both an honor and a test. Madison would be operating independently for extended periods, gathering intelligence that would be crucial for the success of the overall mission. Her teammates would be depending on her assessments and recommendations, and any mistakes could have serious consequences for the entire operation. Madison spent weeks preparing for the mission, studying satellite imagery, analyzing weather patterns, and developing infiltration routes. She worked closely with intelligence analysts to understand the target's routine and the security measures protecting the compound. Her preparation was thorough and methodical, reflecting the attention to detail that had characterized her entire career. The mission began with a high-altitude parachute jump into hostile territory. Madison and her team landed in darkness, several miles from their target area. They had to navigate through difficult terrain while avoiding enemy patrols and maintaining communications with their command element. Madison's navigation skills and tactical awareness were essential during the approach phase. Once in position, Madison conducted detailed reconnaissance of the target compound. She observed guard patterns, identified security vulnerabilities, and developed detailed intelligence reports that would guide the assault team's planning. Her work required patience, precision, and the ability to remain undetected while gathering critical information. During the reconnaissance phase, Madison discovered that the intelligence reports had been incomplete. The compound was more heavily defended than expected, with additional security measures that would complicate the planned assault. Madison's detailed observations and recommendations led to significant changes in the mission plan, potentially preventing casualties and mission failure. The assault phase of the mission was executed flawlessly, with Madison's intelligence proving accurate and valuable. The team successfully captured the target and gathered important intelligence materials. Madison's contribution to the mission's success was recognized by her commanders and teammates, further cementing her reputation as a skilled and reliable operator. Following the successful mission, Madison was recommended for a prestigious military decoration recognizing her exceptional performance. The award citation specifically mentioned her initiative, tactical expertise, and the critical intelligence she had gathered. Madison became one of the youngest SEALs to receive such recognition, and the first woman to be honored for operational excellence in special operations. The recognition brought renewed media attention to Madison's career, but she handled it with the same professionalism she had shown throughout her service. She used the platform to speak about the importance of teamwork, preparation, and maintaining high standards in military operations. She also emphasized the value of diversity in special operations and the need to judge individuals based on their capabilities rather than their demographics. Madison's success in operational environments had broader implications for military policy and culture. Military leaders began to recognize that her achievements were not exceptional anomalies, but rather the result of proper selection, training, and evaluation procedures. Her example provided evidence that merit-based selection could identify capable individuals regardless of gender or other demographic factors.